in my opinion, the second most important thing that could happen to Bitcoin for the next 10 years has just happened. This is a ripple effect based on the ETF filings. As you guys know, if you've been watching this channel for a while, we've been pretty accurate on how the game is about to be played by the important players in the world. And that's really what's happening here. This year will be known as a rotation year for Bitcoin. It will be known as the year where the old guard of Bitcoin handed off the baton to the new guard, which is BlackRock, which is institutions, which is, all of those higher net worth clients that BlackRock and everyone is bringing to the game. But what has happened here is extremely important for this next phase of Bitcoin, and that's what I want to talk about. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We're about to start ramping up videos again because things are about to start getting exciting again. Up until now, it's been pretty boring for the summer months. That's generally what sort of happens anyway. September is not that much of a good month, historically speaking, but it's pretty decent right now. Unless we see some kind of crash between now and the end of September, we're looking at possibly the strongest September performance ever for Bitcoin. So that's pretty good. Now, let's talk about what's happened here. Recently, we had, just a few days ago, something that I predicted last year when the ETFs came out. And if you've been following the channel, you know that I've been saying, I know I got a lot of tweets from a lot of you that say, hey, you were right, etc., etc. This game is easy to see. If you know how to listen to the game and you're not just emotionally swayed one direction to the other, then the game is really easy to see what's about to happen. So what's happened? BlackRock has had approval from the SEC for accelerated approval for options. So you will be able to write options against your IBIT position very, very soon. What does this mean? Because this is a monumentally game-changing moment. Maybe not to the average person, and that's not the point here. A lot of the things that we've spoken about over the last year, you and I listening to on this particular channel, has been, understanding the insights of what really is going on behind the scenes from an institutional perspective. It might not be useful for you, but this is what gets big players into the market heavy and what pumps ultimately your bags when it comes to Bitcoin. So within a matter of months, Bitcoin is going to become an income generating asset through the use of options. Sophisticated players don't just go and buy one property every 3 months and then rent it out and generate a cash flow. That's for retail. That's a retail style of investing. Sophisticated players use market instruments like options to generate income. And that's how income funds work. And this is a multi-trillion-dollar marketplace for income funds because people need cash flow, retirement funds, etc., etc. And now Bitcoin has just been approved for SEC is signed off for accelerated approval for options on these funds. It still needs a couple more approvals, but it's basically on the way, right? And this is huge. This is absolutely huge because let's look at the list of things. And I've been saying this for a while. A lot of Bitcoiners don't like admitting that, TradFi is a big deal. TradFi is a fucking big deal. If you're sitting there going, oh, TradFi doesn't matter for Bitcoin, in my opinion, you're an absolute moron, an uneducated moron, because this is what brings capital into this market. It's as simple as that. So here's what you can do when it comes to options being available on any product and now being available for Bitcoin, right? And think about it like this. This stuff you could not do before this moment, which means there were people, think about it like a big player. There are going to be people who did not want to enter the market because you could not do this list of things that I'm about to read out to you, right? And now it's a possibility for them to enter. So we've actually opened up a whole new avenue of potential cash coming into Bitcoin because these things are now available. Number one, you can sell calls for yield. What does that mean, right? You can basically offer the right for somebody to buy your Bitcoin and speculate on the price of Bitcoin, and they will pay you a premium for that. And you can generate that premium on a monthly basis. And the statistics are that 95% of people that try and speculate like that lose money. So you're collecting money on a monthly basis and you're generating cash flow. This is how the market works. This is actually one of the reasons when I was in the gold space why all the gold people hated me, because my opinion was, instead of buying gold bricks at a 40% premium from these morons, why don't you use GLD and you can write covered calls against it and start generating a cash flow. Now, you can't do this in every market. You've got to do it in certain specific markets to make sure you don't lose your Bitcoin, right? Because you are agreeing contractually to give up that Bitcoin if it hits a certain price. But sophisticated players know how to deal with this, and this wasn't available in a large, scalable way until now. This is absolutely huge. Secondly, you can buy puts for protection, right? Most of the time, what are people doing, including miners, including wealthy speculators, including people that are just trying to make sure that they have enough cash to get through for the next 4 years? What are they doing? They're selling their Bitcoin, which is what has caused massive drawdowns in the market. And the miners one is huge, right? Now what you can do with options being available, when they do become available, is you can buy puts. Puts are insurance policies, right? For example, if you buy a house, you got to buy house insurance, right? At the end of the day, the house insurance is there just in case the thing goes to shit, just in case it burns down, just in case something happens, the house insurance is there, right? It's insurance. Well, puts are kind of like insurance. What it basically tells you is you are buying the right to sell your Bitcoin, in this scenario, your IBIT position, at a certain price by a certain date. And why big players love this is because, let's say they made 150% return, 200% return on a trade. Instead of selling the underlying asset, they can just go buy a put. And they'll take 5 or 10% of that uptick in profit instead of selling down the whole position and buy put options. And that will mean that if the market goes in that direction that they think, which is down, they're hedged because the value of the put options, the value of the insurance goes up. So if you buy a house and you buy house insurance and the house burns down, the value of the insurance comes into play. But if the house doesn't burn down, you lose. What do you lose? You lose the cost of the insurance, and you basically, the way you should think about it is you add the cost of the insurance to the cost of the house, and then hopefully it appreciates more than the cost of the house and the insurance. Well, that's how it works with Bitcoin too. When you buy a put option, if the put option expires worthless, i.e. the market did not crash, all you are doing is basically taking 5 or 10% of whatever the uptick is on the position and adding it to the cost of the position, which then Bitcoin will make up over a period of time. You couldn't do this before. So it begs the question now, do miners have to actually sell their Bitcoin at this point when they can just go take a percentage of their earnings and go and buy some put options in the market, right? Because that's the reason why miners do this and sell their Bitcoin is to raise capital. So if they can just go buy put options in the market on IBIT, why do they need to fuck around selling their Bitcoin? This is huge, absolutely huge, right? And number 3, you can speculate in the short term by selling puts to buy the dip, right? In case you think it's going to go down, instead of going in and just going, this is really for speculators. The next 2 are for speculators. If you think the price is going to go down, instead of going and buying into the market right now, you can go sell a put position, and if it continues to go down, then you get allocated the actual stock, and you get paid to basically speculate on the dips. It's just unbelievably huge. None of these mechanisms were available in a scalable way until right now, right? Just think about the type of person that's going to come in and play with this. And then number 4, and finally, if you think the market's going to go up and you want immense leverage on that, you can just buy call options. You can buy the right to buy that underlying asset, which is IBIT, which is Bitcoin, by a certain date. So let's say you think Bitcoin's going to go to $100,000 by March, for example. Well, you can go and buy a March call option and pay a 10% premium. So you can now 10x the amount of Bitcoin that you can control up until March in case it goes up. And if it doesn't go up, you lose the premium. This is an unbelievable market for speculators, for hedging, for all kinds of things that has just opened up here, right? Now, of course, there's risks and downsides and management that you've got to do with options. It's a completely different game to just buying the underlying asset, which is why most of the people watching this video, you're too stupid to do this. Let me just be very, very clear about this. You're too stupid to do this. You're not going to work it out. If you fuck around with this, you're going to find out by losing most of your Bitcoin. Now, someone like a hedge fund that is got 10 traders that are options traders that have been doing this their entire career, they're going to look at this, basically it's going to be, it's going to be like Viagra for them, right? They're going to look at this and go, we can we can go 10x leverage on Bitcoin using options on IBIT, this is huge. Let's get into this. And then, of course, there's the other side, which is the market making side, which a lot of people don't understand. And that is that this actually forces market makers to neutralize the delta on a position. And all of this is slightly complicated, but it just works like this. If you're a market maker and someone takes a long position, you have to balance out the short position, right? In order to neutralize the potential risk. Because if they win, then you're going to be down, right? And if someone goes short, then you need to neutralize the upside, the long side, in order to neutralize the position on your balance sheet. So what that does is starts reducing volatility to the downside. Because if someone starts selling Bitcoin, the market maker has to start buying it, right? But what it does to the upside, because of the finality and the scarcity of the asset, is as people start going long to the upside, the market maker is going to try and short, but the price is going to move up enough because of the bull market multiple, where you've got, you know, a shitstorm brewing, right? If you think GameStop had an amazing rise, what happens when there's a gamma squeeze on IBIT? This is unbelievably powerful what's going on here and what's happened here. Now, most importantly, when it comes from my perspective, for the average investor, Bitcoin has now, as soon as these start trading, has entered the realm of being a cash flow generating asset, and real estate has been notified. Because now I guarantee you within a year there will be funds like REITs. REITs are real estate investment trusts. They basically buy real estate on your behalf, rent it out, give you the cash flow, right? Manage the whole thing and give you the cash flow. There will be people doing that for Bitcoin, and I bet within the first year of launching one of these cash flow funds with Bitcoin, they're going to outperform real estate investment trusts, and people will start going, wait a second, why don't we just move some of our allocation from real estate investment, from REITs, to a Bitcoin cash flow fund? So this is all coming now, and this is all opening up, and this is all being approved, and this is all happening right now. This is the forefront of what's going on. Everyone else's bullshit is irrelevant. This is the market right now. And then, of course, you know, Bitcoin Twitter, and people that don't really understand how TradFi works, which I kind of understand and empathize with, because they don't want people to understand how it works, which is why I keep saying subscribe to the channel, because that's what I want to do. I want to try and help people understand the magnitude of what's going on here so you can get to your one Bitcoin before it's too late. And for the last year, that's exactly what I've been doing here. And hopefully, you know, most people have got, if you've been watching, you've been trying to get to your one Bitcoin as fast as possible, because you will never ever get another fucking chance ever again. That's how scarce this asset is. And now with options, it's even scarier, because again, if someone places a position, the market maker has to go also place a position. So now you've got forces coming into play here that we have never experienced before, and now you're adding leverage onto it. So you're now amplifying the result of this market based on options. And if we can get a 10x leverage on these options, it won't be 10x. Let's say it's 5x leverage, right? That means that, let's say IBIT is worth, I don't know, $30 billion. Well, the options market might be worth $150 billion. This is an absolutely huge market. It's going to, in my opinion, it's going to reduce the downside volatility while causing upside momentary rocket ships like we've never ever seen before, because of the gamma squeeze that's going to happen due to the underlying asset being so scarce and so final. So you've got to get to your one Bitcoin as fast as possible. The cash flow funds are coming. This is happening right now. You've got to subscribe to the channel, because we're about to start ramping up, and this is going to be the single most important thing since the ETFs got filed. And as you know, I've been very, very pro the work that BlackRock is doing, the work that Fidelity is doing, the work that Bitwise is doing, the work that every one of these ETF providers is doing, because this is very, very important for the underlying asset. And even if you never take advantage of any of these things, because they exist, they're going to pump your bags because you own the same asset as these people. That's the difference with Bitcoin, unlike real estate, unlike equities, unlike gold, unlike everything else. So subscribe to the channel, get to one Bitcoin. Time is fucking running out right now. But ultimately, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.